right, so let's go ahead and look at images. So we had saved that one cat on the desktop. And remember, we want our document and our images to all be on the same folder on our thumb drive or our external, and they just not move. It is so important to remember, do not move them. You can click and drag, and my desktop is getting messy because I'm doing all of our recordings. Let me close some things up. So you could, wherever the cat is, there it is, project 1, images. All right, so option number 1, we have our boxes, and remember, any box can hold anything. You can click and drag it into there. You can just click and drag the cat or the image or photo or whatever it is you're working on in there. And you can see one of the problems with that right off the bat is because that was a ginormous photo. We're going to have to go, into our free transform. Oh, I'm going to talk about that. So free transform is how you're going to resize anything that has an image in it, because the boxes are independent of the image. It's not going to move with the frame. So go to your free transform, hold that shift key down, and it will constrain those proportions. I'm going to keep going. I think I missed one of the space or shift keys. No, that looks about right. In our free transform, then you can get it to whatever size it is you are looking for. You can crop parts of it. So if I go back to my regular selection, if I want my picture to be a little bit more narrow, you can. By double clicking or clicking on this thing, you can see where the photo itself is. And I'm just going to zoom in so we can see. And it's this orange line. Deselect, click once on the box. It's just the box. Double click. It's going to be the image itself. Sometimes you're going to need to do it. So let's say I go too far with my cropping. I can double click and then use my left arrow and slide it over. So it can stay that size. It just gives you another couple extra options of rearranging it. We also had this box over here. You can do a Command D or a file place. Again, it's Command and D. And it's on my desktop, project 1, images, and there is the kitten. So you can see it's just bringing it in at that 100%. Now, if you opened up your InDesign and changed to your Windows Essentials Classics, you're going to have these fit options here. The first one that I use the most, it says fit the content proportionately. So when I double click on that, I actually made that box surprisingly accurate. So you didn't really get to see anything for that one. If I had it slightly off, what it does is it puts it, in proportion with the frame. Oops, going back to my regular select. It would put it in proportion with that frame, and then you would have the option here is to fit the frame to the content. The first one, so that is if you want all of the image in there. This first one is just to fill it proportionately, and it's going to do the cropping sort of for you. And then that way you don't have to compress anything from there. It'll fill it out. This one's going to fill the content to the frame or fit the content to the frame. And this one's just going to center the content. So let's say with this cat, because I clicked on that, I'll make the box a little bit bigger than what he is. And when I hit that, center, I'm going to do it one more time. Not content aware. It's going to center it within that. And it might smush it just a little bit, but it's going to put it dead center of that. There is also the auto fits, but I'm just going to put it out there. It's sort of like the default typefaces. I would think it behooves you more to just work on it manually instead of letting these programs do what they think they know is right. If you wanted to have the text flow around that, there's one other menu under the type, it's above the tools. It's called the text wrap. This one is saying when your box is selected, there's none. It's just going to let the type go all around it. And then this one is going to wrap it around a bounding box. So this one's going to be the one you actually end up using the most. You can keep the chains linked, and you can use your up and down arrow, and this is going to give a little bit of air. But you can see it's giving more air on the top and bottom than the right, so I'm going to actually turn that off. And if you look at each of these, you can see it says top offset. It looks like a little square with an arrow pointing up. So this is saying it's pushing the air to the top, pushing the air to the bottom, left and right. So I want more air on the right, and it will do the wrap to the right. So now if I hit my W, I can see how that looks, and that looks pretty visually close. Maybe one more boop. Much better, because I'm sort of looking at this space here, and that feels like a lot. And if it still feels like a lot and you're not going to have a caption, bump it up a little bit. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Which that's probably a little bit too much. One more. It's better to have a little bit extra air than not enough air. I'm going to go back to the W so we can see it. And just a reminder, if there's no red angry screaming at you, that's a good thing. So everything's linked and in order. If you click on, hover on it, boop, you can see it actually gives you your directory to that. So if you do lose your file, you can at least know what your file name actually was, and that will help things. But always keep all your images in the same spot and never move them. You're going to be so sick of hearing me say that. But the only time if you upload something that something looks really terrible and fuzzy, it's probably because the link is gone. And that's just showing how many times I've used it whenever that's collapsed. So keep them in the same spot, never move them. Get used to working on a thumb drive or an external so that you don't have to move them. And for the next one, I'm going to talk about Project One a little bit.